Welcome to Pike TV. I'm Shannon Deskins with East Kentucky Broadcasting. This is a legislative update program with our state legislators who are going to give us their thoughts today about the current session of the General Assembly and especially how things are related to Pike County in particular. Well, today I'd like to welcome in with us Representative W. Keith Hall, State Senator Ray Jones, and Representative Leslie Combs. So thank you guys very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shannon.
And before we get to some of the hot buttons that everybody knows about right now, such as House Bill 260, the UPIKE bill that I know that you're very involved with, the changes that it's gone through, as well as coal severance allocations to Pike County. First of all, I'd like to get your individual assessment, how you guys feel individually about how the session has gone this far. And Representative Hall, let's start with you.
Been very busy. We have addressed the budget of late. The House has passed the budget out of the A&R committee, which I'm a member of as well. We passed the transportation budget today, which is the second largest budget in the state. Probably my best and proudest accomplishment has been the return of $19 million back to the individual coal counties that was being taken for workers' comp since 1996, going into the general fund since 2004. That alone, that piece of legislation alone, brings about $2.5 million more just to Pike County single coal severance. So it's been extremely busy, extremely hectic time, but we're here working for the people every day, 8, 10, 12, 14-hour days, and we're glad you all can make the trip down here, Shannon, to be with us, and it's a good opportunity for the people and back home to know what's going on and hear it from the horse's mouth, and we welcome you here today.
Thank you. Senator Jones, how do you feel right now about how the session's going so far?
Well, it's been a very busy session, as Representative Hall said. The redistricting legislation took a great deal of the first third of the session, and of course with the Supreme Court striking down the House and Senate redistricting plans, you know, it caused quite a bit of turmoil in the session. Then you factor in the gambling issue, which dominated probably another third of the session. So, you know, we're getting down to the last third of the session, and now we're starting to see the important things like the state budget come together,
exactly,
and some other important pieces of legislation like UPIKE, which Representative Combs has worked so hard for.
And Representative Combs, how do you feel so far?
Well, I'll reiterate what the two gentlemen have already just said. The best way I can describe the way it's gone is the session it started like it's supposed to end. So it's always very busy and very rambunctious at the end, and it's been that way from day one. This is my 6th session since I've been a legislator, and I must say that no 2 sessions have ever been alike. They've never followed one another. Something has always happened differently. So, and if you want me to, Shannon, I can go ahead and talk about an update on the UPIKE issue.
Going.
I'll tell you, I'm very excited about it. The legislation is now down in the Senate, and at that point, I'll kind of pass it on to Senator Jones to pick it up from here. But I think we've got some really good things going. While our original intent was to make the University of Pikeville public, we did not accomplish that, but at the same time we've postponed that because there will continue to be discussion about making the University of Pikeville public, but more importantly, creating a public institution in Eastern Kentucky, particularly Southeast Kentucky. Now, the revised House Bill 260 that we've come up with is still a tremendous piece of legislation for our students in Eastern Kentucky. It comprises 16 counties in Southeast Kentucky. What's going to happen with these counties is the students who reside in these counties and come from applicable high schools from these counties will be eligible for a $6,000 scholarship to attend one of the 4-year colleges in one of these 16 counties. And right now there's 4. There's even question about a 5th one possibly. But anyhow, there'll be those 4-year institutions they can go to. There'll be a lesser amount, up to $2,000, where students who say want to go to a community and technical college where a state institution is offering 3rd and 4th year. And that's something I want to clarify. This is particularly geared towards finishing that bachelor's degree. So this will be for the 3rd and 4th year of that 4-year college degree is where these equalization grants will go. But if a state institution is offering the 3rd and 4th year on a community and technical college campus, up to $2,000 will apply. Then the third item is funding will be available to our community and technical colleges up to $150,000 in that 16, they're based in that 16 county area, and they will do outreach programs to our high schools and work with those students in the community colleges to emphasize getting your bachelor's degree, raising that bachelor degree attainment level, and finishing a college degree and how important that is for them. Now, what we've proven through this process, and we knew going into it, that's why we were working so hard for it, is the fact that our students, they attend college. That's not the issue. Right. The issue is they go to college and they want to go to college. But when they go away from here, our percentage is very low on those that complete that 4-year degree. The percentages are higher, and it's proven that if they stay at home and get that 4-year degree at home or go to college at home, they will complete that 4-year college degree. So that's what we're trying to make possible, and that is the way the compromise language is. And well, I'll tell you what, we passed it out 2 days ago, I believe, Representative Hall, yes, with a 90-7 vote. Right. So it was overwhelmingly accepted in the House.
So you found a good compromise.
I think we found, and I'm very pleased with this because we've had several legislators from all across the state who've come to us and said they're very, very pleased, yeah, with what we've worked out, and they think it's really good for our region.
Good. So now it's out of your hands and in the Senate.
We'll get down here with Senator Jones and work with him and see what we can do there.
Exactly.
So.
Well, first of all, it's disappointing that we weren't able to get the bill in its original form through, and I truly believe there were a lot of counties that came out in opposition to the bill simply out of jealousy, because if you look at what a 4-year institution would have, the benefit we would have from a 4-year public institution in southeastern Kentucky, there's no question that it would be an economic driver. It would create a lot of jobs and a lot of economic activity, not just in Pikeville or in Pike County, but in the outlying areas. And now that we have the alternative that Representative Combs and Speaker Stumbo have come up with, I believe it probably will have more support in the Senate, because there were some of the Cole County legislators who were not in favor of the UPike proposal. But this is going to help not just UPike. This is going to help students, Alice Lloyd, Union, Cumberland, and the other schools. And
Moorhead.
So Moorhead to a degree. That's absolutely correct.
Moorhead to a degree. But in reality, I was somewhat disappointed on that issue, that Moorhead approached this issue the way they did, given the fact that I went to school there, my grandfather went to school there. It shouldn't be about whose turf somebody's stepping on when it comes to education. The fundamental focus should have been, Shannon, how do we educate bachelor's level students and keep them in Eastern Kentucky? And that was something that we didn't hear from any of the detractors of the original proposal. There was no counterpoint. They basically wanted to do things the way they're being done, and it's not worked.
Well, at least you didn't just give up and say, well, that didn't work, and never mind. You did work together, and you did find a compromise.
And realize, well, we haven't given up on the original proposal.
That's right.
That we will
I'm sure we'll see that again.
We will not let
Shannon,
it go away.
I want to say that the great Henry Clay, the great Speaker of the U.S. Congress in the House, Abraham Lincoln's hero, said to govern is to compromise. You learn real quick, and Ray and I have been here 12 years, Leslie, 8 years, correct? 6 years, that when you come to this place, you better be prepared to compromise. And as an old poor boy from the creek, you learn that a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing. So we're pleased that we've helped. And as a person that went to the University of Kentucky my freshman and sophomore year, that went to Pikeville College my junior and senior year, that had a son graduate from Pikeville College, has a daughter at University of Kentucky, we need Pikeville to be solvent. We need Pikeville to be strong, and we need University of Pikeville to be very flourishing for the future of our people. And I think Leslie's done a great job finding that compromise, working with legislators. It's a win-win for Pike County. It's definitely a benefit.
It's a win for Pike County, it's a win for Southeast Kentucky, and it's a win for all of Eastern Kentucky. Yeah. And as Senator Jones and Representative Paul both alluded to, the economic development aspect from this will be wonderful. And yes, we are making an investment of our own money in this project, but that's why that money's there, is to invest in ourselves, our infrastructure, our future economic development, and this is a great use of that funding.
Okay. Now that's one thing that we've talked about that has moved from the House to the Senate. And something else that we're in that same thing is the budget.
Yes.
I understand that the House has now approved the 2-year budget plan, and it is in the Senate. But one thing, in talking to people in the community, a lot of people don't understand. They see what comes out once the budget is out there. Who gets this, who gets that, what's allocated. Can you guys maybe address how you guys even have the information to know who gets what. A lot of people don't understand how that works.
Well, first of all, the first thing we do when we come into session is the three of us, and in conjunction with Representative Hubert Collins, who has 2 precincts in Pike County, we get the current Cole County or the single county coal service tax account balance, and we get the forecast for the next 2 years as to what we're going to have come into the account. So then, this past year, the fiscal court sent us what they refer to as their wish list. As you can see, it's somewhat voluminous. And in addition to what we received from the city or the county, we received requests from the city of Elkhorn City. We received letters from the city of Pikeville, numerous fire departments, rescue squads, and city of Coal Run. Mountain Water District. So we receive a lot of requests, and probably if you added all this up, the request from the Pike Fiscal Court alone was about $23 million, not counting stuff that we received from some of the magistrates and these other entities. So you're probably looking at about $30 million in requests in this material. Unfortunately, we only have about $13 million to spend over the next 2 years. So what we tried to sit down and do is look at the requests and come up with some priorities. Now, just for some background information, I think Leslie asked me to take a look at this. There's 2 ways that coal service tax can be allocated. Now, keep in mind that there's two accounts in the coal service tax. There's a local government economic development fund, which is the single county money that we're talking about. But there's also local government economic assistance money that comes directly to the county that they use for their day-to-day operations. So there's quite a bit of money that comes back to the Pike Fiscal Court in that context alone that we have no control over. But the budget that's been somewhat talked about in the local media, there's 2 ways that the coal service tax money is allocated. One is by the General Assembly, because it is a state tax, just like your state income tax. So the General Assembly controls where that money goes. State sales tax, we control where that goes. The same thing's true with the coal service tax. If, in the absence of a line item appropriation from the General Assembly, the only other way that coal service tax money can be allocated is if the fiscal court submits a grant application to the Department of Local Government. The only thing about that is many of the projects they requested would not qualify because it has to be for an economic development purpose. For instance, debt service. One of the things we're going to talk about is 2 requests for about $2.5 million from the fiscal court for debt service, meaning they want us to give them basically a bailout on some debt they have on the jail and some debt on the landfill. But if you look at the statute, the fiscal court could not go to the Economic Development Cabinet and get the money because it doesn't qualify. Debt service specifically does not qualify. The only debt service that would qualify would be for industrial development projects. So, but that's essentially the way the process works. And we have taken input from magistrates, the county judge, mayors of Pikeville, Coal Run, and Elkhorn City, the chairperson of the Mountain Water District, local fire departments, rescue squads, other organizations, etc. So it's a daunting challenge for the 3 of us to have to sit down and try to wade through $30 million in requests and pare that down to $13 million and do it in a fair and equitable way. And I will say this, Shannon, that Keith and I have been here 12 years, Leslie has been here 6. Keith and I are on the Appropriations and Revenue Committee that writes the budget. Very few counties in Kentucky can say that the senator and representative have a senator and representative on that committee. Right. We have made substantial investments in water and sewer in Pike County. Throughout the county, about 98% of the people in Pike County have access to safe, clean drinking water. That's probably double what it was when we came in office 12 years ago. Definitely. For the first several years Keith and I were here, was it about 75 or 80% of the money? Almost
80% of the money was appropriated for water projects and sewer
projects. Now, we have sort of scaled that back a little bit, Shannon, because most of the water projects that can be done in an economically feasible way, now there's some that we still need to do, but we're about 98% now. But some of the ones that are left to be done are extremely expensive projects that we simply can't get the money for right now. So But we basically have to sit down and we have to wade through about $30 million in requests to try to figure out where to spend $13 million.
And let me say one thing that we've been constant in always. We have been guilty and constant of taking care of mountain water and sewer for our people. We've been constant in our fire departments, which are volunteer, with their needs of building equipment and trucks. We've been constant in support of our senior citizens and our veterans, and money has always been appropriated for them, as well as Judy's Place for the battered spousal abuse centers. We've been constant in those programs.
Family resource.
And family resources, our Friskies, which take care of the poorest of our poor, of our children. We have always appropriated money for those projects, always been beneficial to those people. And I've always said this, you know, the value and the quality of a government is how do you treat your most vulnerable. Well, we've done prioritize very well as this team. I'm proud of that we've took care of those people that need it most. And I think that's a great track record that we've been supportive of our most vulnerable people in Pike County that needs these services. And I'm very proud of our track record of how we have distributed this money the past 12 years.
You know, Shannon, in 12 years that Keith and I have been helping to write the budget, and this budget we're getting ready to pass is about a $19 billion spending bill. And we're going to have to make substantial cuts. This is either the 9th or 10th round of cuts that we have had to make, either as a General Assembly or that have been made by the executive branch. The problem is every government entity, our school boards, I think there was an article in the paper last week that the Pike County Board of Education is going to face a shortfall. The problem is, in the fiscal court, they're having financial problems.
Yeah.
And the question is, one of the fundamental questions is, do we use coal severance tax money to pay debts that have been incurred by the fiscal court? And that's one fundamental issue. And the three of us have taken the position that if those projects do not qualify under the statute and debt service is not one of the items that the severance tax language allows to be funded, then we really need to take a close look at that, because coal severance tax is based upon coal production, and coal production is declining every year. The thing that is holding the severance tax receipts up is the price of coal. So we have to make the investments in our infrastructure now, because 20 years from now, with what we've seen with the EPA, with what we're seeing now with, say, MSHA on the coal slurry impoundments, they're not issuing permits on these slurry impoundments, which are going to affect the ability to process coal.
Yeah.
We have to make these investments now, because the coal severance tax money is going to start declining with what the EPA's done. It's going to start declining rather rapidly. And that's one of the reasons that the three of us, and I think I can speak for the three of us, have had some serious reservations about using money. And I'll give you one example, Shannon. One of the things that some of the members of the fiscal court are upset about is we did not honor approximately a $1.2 million request for money to pay debt service on the Pike County Jail. The fiscal court borrowed money to do an expansion of the Pike County Jail. And Rodney Scott has done a wonderful job under some very difficult circumstances. We've asked a lot of Rodney, and the people of Pike County should know that he has done a wonderful job in trying to make that jail run as efficiently as possible.
Right.
But the fiscal court borrowed money, a substantial amount of money, to do the jail expansion. Now they're turning to the General Assembly to pay that debt off. So that raises the first question, is what was the fiscal court's plan to pay that off when they borrowed it? Okay, and that's a fundamental problem. I don't think the people of Pike County think that we should take coal severance tax money that's intended for water projects, sewer projects, and after what I saw in West Liberty and Sayersville and Johnson County and Martin County in my Senate district, we've got to make investments in our fire and rescue units in Pike County, because if that tornado that hit West Liberty had hit Pikeville or Elkhorn City or South Williamson, God knows we would not have the resources that we needed. And we've got to make sure that our first responders have the equipment and the training they need, and we've done that. We've done that consistently for years. So it's a fundamental disagreement over whether we should use the coal severance tax money to pay debts on things like a landfill or a jail, or we should make direct investments in schools, in our senior citizen centers, in programs that help the poorest children in Pike County.
Fire departments.
The Mountain Water District that provides water and sewer to the people of Pike County, our fire departments and rescue squads.
Yeah.
And that's where we have decided.
And let me interject a thought here too, Shannon, because it's not been easy. As we've said as A&R members, we've made 8 budget cuts. We've saved the state $1.5 billion. Never once did the 3 of us ever cast a vote to raise taxes
Absolutely.
on our people of Pike County. Now, we've protected public protection, our state police. We've protected SEEK and education. But, I mean, we have absolutely amputated some parts of the body. We're 6,000 to 7,000 people, fewer today in Frankfort. We have shrunk government, and we've tried to be good stewards of the people's trust to where we've not wasted their money. And today, Kentucky's $1.5 billion trimmer than what it was 4 years ago in the budget cuts we've made. We've all had to tighten our belts. We've all had to make sacrifices, and we continue to do that.
And we've had to make those decisions in our capacity at the state level, and folks we'll have to make those decisions at the county level.
Exactly.
You know, Shannon, it's not just, you know, Keith's a businessman, I'm a business, Leslie's family is in business. I mean, you know, we've trimmed, my wife and I have trimmed our household budget. I've had to do the same thing in my business. I mean, the coal industry is in pretty bad shape right now. There are a lot of people that have been laid off. There's a lot of families struggling in eastern Kentucky. And how can we expect those families to do more than they're already doing when government is not trying to operate as lean as possible and as efficiently as possible? And we've had to make the cuts, and we expect that local government will have to do the same thing, as Leslie said.
We didn't have budget. We didn't have layoffs in the state level. We had furlough plans. We had employees taking less days, and that was not a good thing, but nobody lost their job. But we had a furlough plan to where you took 5 days a year that you didn't get paid for. Caused a lot of grief. 12 days. But we felt like that was the best thing to do to save the state money, and nobody got job loss. And we've made some tough decisions trying to protect the integrity of the things we've been for and funded in the past and in the future going forward. And at times, Shannon, it gets lonely. It gets lonely when you're here. And I want to say this, you know, we get these green slips. You know, we get the green slips from our people back home. They call us, they write us, and we want to know what they think because, you know, we're here representing them. You know, this job is to be representative of the people that you represent, and we try to be that. We try to be good stewards.
And I think along those lines of the comments we've been getting and questions we've been asked, I think that we want to talk about 2 projects in particular. One we've gotten asked about that goes along with the water and sewer infrastructure is the particular investment we've made in the city sewer system and why we've done that. And I think Senator Jones has some numbers on that. And then we want to talk about the project up at Breaksonner State Park and why we put that item in there.
You read my mind. It was the next 2 things that I was going to mention. So we're all on the same page.
I was kidding around with Keith and Leslie today. I said, you know, this is sort of like getting ready for a jury trial. Because we do, and I told somebody one day when I was waiting for a jury to come back, I said, you know, this is like waiting for the votes to be counted on election night. But all kidding aside, there have, you know, and I'm going to respond specifically to the special meeting of the Pike Fiscal Court last week. There were a lot of inaccuracies in what was said by some of the members of the Fiscal Court, and, you know, in fact, one of the members said something that was on the front of the paper. One thing about Pike County is we have the best crooks in the country, quote unquote. So, you know, I mean, they're talking about the 3 of us. Now, keep in mind, Leslie and Keith are in the House, and this was directed when the House passed the budget. It hadn't even come to the Senate yet.
Correct.
Okay, but that's what's, you know, and somebody said, well, follow the money. Well, let's talk about the projects. The folks that watch this program are going to see a pie chart. Actually, about 24%, not 25%, but about 24% of the coal severance tax money allocated in this proposed budget that came out of the House. And I haven't done anything to it in the Senate yet, okay? And what I have said is I am not going to make any wholesale changes without consulting with Keith and Leslie because we have worked very closely together. And we've not seen this kind of controversy. In 12 years, Shannon, I have never had the first public official at the county level ever question any of the severance tax appropriations that we've made. We have never had a fiscal court question how much money is going to the city of Pikeville. I thought, here we are in the 21st century now. I'm from Virgie, okay? I went to Virgie High School. I grew up there. My mom lives at Virgin. My dad's at Phelps. Keith's a Creekers. We call ourselves Creekers because, you know, we didn't grow up in the city.
Right.
My wife's from Johns Creek. You know, nobody can ever say that we have not protected the rights of the people of Pike County. But we've also tried to help the city of Pikeville because that's our county seat. Now, you know, one of the things I want to talk about is this issue about county versus city. And I was hoping we were beyond that because, you know, when we get sick, we go to a hospital in Pikeville. My wife went to a medical school in Pikeville. The largest domestic bank, Community Trust Bank, the largest domestic bank in Kentucky is headquartered in Pikeville. Now, I would love to move all that development to Virgin. Keith would love to move it to Peter Creek, but Pikeville's our county seat.
Right.
And if you look at what we've done in this proposed House budget, the vast majority of the money that was earmarked for Pikeville is earmarked for a sewer plant.
Exactly.
Now, let me explain to you about sewer and water service and why it was earmarked to Pikeville. The Pikeville sewer plant services 2,689 residential and commercial customers inside the city limits. But what the members of the fiscal court didn't say is they serve 1,369 residential and commercial customers outside the city limits in Pike County.
In the county.
Pike Central High School is served by the Pikeville City Sewer. All of Island Creek, all of Cowpen, everything from the Pikeville city limits south of town to the Floyd County line is served. All the shopping areas served by the city of Pikeville. My law office located at Coal Run, I pay my water bill. The water and sewer service is provided by the city of Pikeville.
Yeah.
So here we are. If you factor in the fact that 1/3 of that money is going to go for a sewer plant that serves, whose 1/3 of whose customers are residents of Pike County.
Right.
They didn't mention that. Now, the city of Pikeville also has 2,935 water customers inside the city, residential and commercial. They have 2,689 customers in the county.
Yeah, 50-50.
So here we have a utility. Now this is a utility we're talking about that serves 1/3 of its sewer customers in the county, 50% of its water customers roughly in the county. All the people of Island Creek, all the people of Cowpen, their public water is from the city of Pikeville. But yet we have magistrates that want to play city versus county. Now let me tell you why we put this in there. The city of Pikeville sewer plant is operating at near maximum capacity. They have been advised by the state of Kentucky that likely by the end of this year they're not going to be able to add any more customers, residential or commercial. And what that's done, the area where, say, Texas Roadhouse, see that property was developed by the city of Pikeville. There is another large development that is likely to take place in the next year or so once the sewer plans are finalized, because it's going to create about 600 new jobs. One of the department stores I think that has been talked about was Kohl's department store. Other restaurants and other shops that are wanting to come into this shopping center. But we can't develop that until the sewer can be processed. And I don't know if any of the folks who are listening to this have ever driven by the area where the Poly Bridge is at and Walter Chevrolet. There is a very foul sewer smell, and it's because of deficiencies in the sewer plant. So when you start talking about the fact that we've done something to benefit Pikeville greater than Pike County, when you look at the numbers, there's 1,369 commercial and residential customers. Now, when you say residential, who knows how many thousand people that translates into?
That's per household, correct?
I'm talking 1,369 households and residential customers. So there may be several thousand residents that are served by water and sewer, 2,689 water customers. How can anyone fault us for wanting to take care of the sewer needs? I mean, if you go to the Pikeville Medical Center and you've got a loved one in that hospital and you flush the toilet in their room, you hope that toilet will flush. I mean, there are serious implications if the sewer plant is found to be at maximum capacity. It affects the hospital, it affects the college, it affects the medical school, it affects every business in our county seat.
It affects county government offices that reside in the city of Pikeville.
And Ray, let me allude to this. When we had flooding today, Shannon, you were telling me we were having some flooding in Pike County. When the major flood happened a year or so ago in Pike County, Mother's Day wasn't, Leslie, 2 years ago.
That's right.
I was at the Marrowbone water plant. That thing was shut down and incapacitated. Where do you think the water for our county came from? Pikeville was making the biggest part of that water.
You want the numbers?
Yeah, give me the numbers, Ray.
Pike County the Mountain Water District buys 40 million gallons of water per month from the city water plant. Mountain Water produces about 77 million gallons of water at its own plant. And they buy about 20 million gallons a month from the city of Williamson. So I personally would rather the money stay in Pike County. I mean, it's a no-brainer to me that we should, if the Mountain Water District can't produce the water on its own, and it's going to buy it from somewhere, I would much rather see it bought from somebody in Kentucky than sending their tax money go to West Virginia.
Exactly. Now, you mentioned something that you were talking about just a second ago when you mentioned the sewer and the water thing was also the Breaks Interstate Park.
Right.
And that's another thing that has been hotly contested, and I think people don't understand why that money was allocated. If you guys can touch on that.
Well, we'll kind of go down the line here, but first I want to say, and then I think Senator Jones has got the information to show this. We did get some comments about the fact that we allocated $500,000, but in the book that was sent to us by the county, there was actually a request for $1 million for that project. So we actually didn't fund the entire request that was put in the book.
So the fiscal court requested of us $1 million. Virginia paid $1.5 million. We were only given $500,000. We came to the conclusion that's all we could afford to do. So we gave half what was requested, 1/3 what Virginia gave, and this is Interstate Park. This is set up in 1954, and Ray can go over that detail. That one of the only two interstate parks that visited 400,000 or 500,000 people a year, that benefits Kentucky greatly with tourism dollars. And in our audience today, we've got the Southeast Chamber and Brad Hall and his crew, and we know what tourism does for our area, and we're all about tourism. So, Ray, you take it, give the statute how it was set up. But the point I want to make is we did half what was requested, and only 1/3 what Virginia did to a park that we own half of.
And in addition, this was a major park enhancement. It's been referred to
as a swimming pool.
It's not a swimming pool.
It's not a swimming pool.
So more than just that.
Much more.
Yes.
If the folks listening to this will indulge me and my colleagues, I guess this is a lawyer coming out of me. When I talk about issues, I like to have facts that I can back up my arguments. There are some significant factual holes in some of the comments in the newspaper. Now, I'm going to talk to you about that. First of all, let's talk about the Breaks Interstate Park. I'm going to read this to you. This is KRS 148.220. And this is what it says. The governor is hereby authorized and directed to execute on behalf of the Commonwealth of Kentucky the following compact with the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is hereby approved, ratified, and enacted into law. In Article 1, I want to just read just one part. The Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Virginia agree to create, develop, and operate an interstate park to be known as the Breaks Interstate Park, which shall be located along the Russell Fork of the Leviza Fork of the Big Sandy River and on adjacent areas in Pike County, Kentucky, and Dickinson and Buchanan County, Virginia. Okay, and that's part of it. Now, we all know how important the Breaks Interstate Park is to our region. For instance, if you look at the advertising done by the city of Elkhorn City, it markets itself as the gateway to the Breaks. When you look at the Pike County, an insider's guide to discovering Pikeville and Pike County, okay, don't just say Pike County. It doesn't just say Pikeville. It says Pikeville and Pike County. If you look at the picture of the 5 pictures on here, 4 of those pictures are of the Breaks Interstate Park. I mean, we market. Locally, we market the Breaks Interstate Park. The Tourism Cabinet of the Commonwealth of Kentucky markets the Breaks Interstate Park as a major tourist destination. And if you look at all the brochures, tourist brochures, this one, Kentucky and Virginia's Grand Canyon of the South. It doesn't say Virginia's Grand Canyon of the South. But yet, unfortunately, an employee of the fiscal court who's a very close friend of mine questioned this appropriation of $500,000 for a swimming pool at the Breaks in Virginia. Now, needless to say, I was somewhat stunned to see that kind of criticism of what Leslie and Keith put in the House budget. Because when you look at the wish list that we received back in December from the Pike Fiscal Court, and I'll be happy to make a copy of this available to anyone, the Pike Fiscal Court wish list has a request for $1 million. $1 million is what the Pike Fiscal Court wish list asked for. So then, needless to say, I was somewhat stunned to have that kind of criticism leveled at the three of us when, in fact, the Fiscal Court wish list requested 2 times the amount of money that we put in the House budget for this same project. Now, let's talk about this project. And let me go back. I'm not sure, and I hope I'm not reading that criticism of this project as someone saying that maybe we don't need to do our part to support the brakes. Because I believe that the brakes is a vital link and a vital component to economic development and tourism in eastern Kentucky. It's certainly vital to Elkhorn City. Now, if you look at this project is a $2.5 million project. Dickinson County and Buchanan County are putting in $500,000 each. The state of Virginia is putting in $500,000. The park is borrowing $500,000, and they asked for $500,000 from Pike County. So if Dickinson County and Buchanan County, which, as the statute notes, have part of the park property, certainly it's not unreasonable to expect Pike County to do an equal part with Dickinson and Buchanan County. And then if you look at this project, it's projected to employ another 60 to 90 people.
Right, jobs.
There's 400,000 people who visit the brakes every year. And statistics show that 2% more of the visitors are from Kentucky than they are from Virginia. They're projecting that this is going to generate another $440,000 a year in revenue for the Brakes Park. Now keep in mind, when people go to the Brakes Park, it's a lot easier to get there coming through Pike County than it is through Dickinson County or Buchanan County. And, you know, and again, I think this criticism is so misplaced, and I find it hard, it's hard to understand how the fiscal court could question this appropriation, given the fact that they asked for 2 times the amount of money that we actually put in the budget. So when you're getting this kind of, first of all, when you're given a $30 million request for $13 million, and then you make appropriations, and then you're criticized for funding one of the projects that they requested that you fund, it's sort of hard to understand the criticism.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that you guys had talked about earlier, and not to get away from what we were talking about specifically for Pike County, but I think this next thing will involve Pike County people, is the pseudo-ephedrine bill.
Right.
And that is something that we've heard talking about coming up, and luckily Eastern Kentucky is not yet to the point that Western and Central Kentucky is with methamphetamine use,
Right.
but it's getting there. So can you guys, and that's like you with the U-Pike bill, and you talked about how you guys have to work together and compromise. Well, the pseudo-ephedrine bill is not exactly now how it was. It's gone through some changes and some compromises. Right. Do you guys care to address where we are now with that?
I think you've been working in the Senate with.
You know, 2 of the biggest focuses I've had this year are the pill mill, not just pill mill, but the drug addiction and abuse legislation that I've worked on with Senate, that is now Senate Bill 2, that I have worked on with Senator Jimmy Higdon. But I also worked with Senator Robert Stivers and Senator Tom Jensen on the pseudo-ephedrine bill. It generated a lot of controversy, and you know, fortunately, Pike County has not been hit with meth, Shannon.
That's what we say yet. I mean, we know it's moving our way.
But one of the ladies who testified is from Clay County, and she was a meth addict. And she started out with marijuana, then she went to prescription drugs, right. And then she moved to meth. And when you hear her talk about it, there's no question that meth is highly addictive. It's much more addictive than oxycodone or you know, Xanax or some of the more commonly abused drugs. If meth takes hold in Pike County, if you think the prescription drug epidemic is bad, multiply that by 5 or 10-fold. That's what you're looking at. Yeah. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industry has spent massive amounts of money scaring people to think that you're going to have a prescription to get cold medicine. This legislation would only address about 13 or 14 medicines and would not affect jail caps. But what we've seen is, for instance, there were about 2,000 labs found in Kentucky in 2010. It went up to, I think last year the number was 2,179. Don't hold me to that, but there has been a substantial increase. Now, I was on the conference committee that wrote the first meth bill that required people to give their IDs and to sign for the meth when they bought pseudoephedrine, and that worked. I mean, we could see a substantial decrease in meth labs that were discovered in Kentucky, but unfortunately, the drug dealers found a way to skirt that law. They're using what's called smurfers, people that buy the pseudoephedrine illegally for people who are making the meth. And so what we're doing now is not working. We have to find some solution. Now, this compromise that limits the amount of pseudoephedrine that can be bought probably is a good compromise, but I'm not sure that it can get through the House.
But hopefully this is one of those things, just like everything else, if you really feel strongly about it, and it doesn't make it the first time, it comes back around again. So
that's what a lot of legislation.
And
the way it works.
And Shannon, let me say this: this team has always been very supportive of those drug and anti-drug measures. We've been supportive of the West Care facility that treats those drug addicts.
We've used coal severance tax to support
always
drug treatment facilities.
We're very cognizant that drugs has affected every family's life in Pike County. Every family has been tampered and hampered by the drug addict problem in Pike County. We have tried to be very proactive, along with Congressman Rogers, trying to fight this problem. It is almost epidemic proportions in London, Kentucky, which is 150 miles from us in Pike. It's like, the storm, Bad Moon Rising, it's coming, and we know it's coming. And we, Leslie and I, have worked with Speaker Stumbo. I've even introduced language that would make the pharmaceutical manufacturers pay into a treatment fund or a per prescription base. We're looking at that in A&R. Can we do that? New York did that very successfully, and it worked. So we are very anti-drug. We're very combative, trying to combat this problem for Pike County. We know it's epidemic proportions, and we are very cognizant of the fact we've got to continue to fight this any way we can, legislation, financially, with co-severance funding of these treatment centers, whatever we can do. We've continued, and we've been constant in our 12-year battle. And our Leslie, which has been with us 6 years, we've been very constant in funding those programs that are combative of our drug problem in East Kentucky.
And some days you get pieces of legislation that you work on that you can't imagine the issues or problems that people would have with it. And when you're trying to fight the drug epidemic, that some of the concerns or problems that people, I mean, I understand it once it comes out, but it's mind-boggling, the issues and the problems you run into to fight a battle that is destroying our communities as great as it is.
one of the things I heard you mention the word pill mill. I know our governor is very much against pill mills, the pill pipeline, and you've got the Casper system, and I think now Kentucky's starting to work with other states on that. What's going on now as far as fighting pill mills and things like that?
Well, you know, going back a little history, a few years ago, I passed a piece of legislation, Senate Joint Resolution 48, that sort of started the ball rolling to get Casper, or Casper-like information sharing with other states. You know, it's not just pill mills. You know, what we have is we have a lot of physicians who are simply just overprescribing. And we have a lot of people who are doctor shopping, who are going to legitimate doctors. And here's the problem with Casper. And what Casper is, for the folks that don't know, it's a Kentucky off-schedule prescription electronic reporting system. When people get prescriptions filled in Kentucky for controlled substances, the pharmacist has to note it in the database. And the problem is only 32% of doctors in Kentucky have accounts with Casper to where they can go and check and see if their patients are doctor shopping. To me, that's unconscionable. If you only have 32% of the doctors with Casper accounts, you can only imagine that less than 32% are using it.
So are they not required? This is
They're not
new
required.
to me. So just because we have the system, there's no accountability to encourage or to require our doctors to use it.
And that's one of the things that Senate Bill 2, language that I wrote personally that will require every doctor, not just doctors, but every healthcare provider that writes controlled substances to have a Casper account, and they would have to check the Casper system every time they write a prescription for a controlled substance. Now, some people think that's onerous on the doctors. Well, if you give somebody a 3-month supply of medication, if you come in and somebody gets Lortabs and you give them, let's just say Lortabs for a 2-month supply, well, you wouldn't have to do another. You would do a Casper before, when you wrote the prescription, to verify they're not getting duplicate prescriptions. You wouldn't have to do another one until the person came back in, because what you're looking for by using Casper is healthcare providers are looking for trends. Is a patient going to multiple providers to get duplicate prescriptions?
Correct.
Doctor shopping.
Yeah.
The problem is we can't stop doctor shopping unless doctors participate in Casper and check it. Not just have an account, but actually be mandated to check the account and to record what's called the transaction number. There's a number when they run a Casper report that needs to be recorded to prove that they did that. Another issue is we need Casper, more data sharing and trend reports. If you see a family doctor in rural eastern Kentucky that's writing more narcotics than a pain management specialist at the local cancer center, then you know there's a problem there.
Yeah.
And we need better data, and we need better data sharing with our law enforcement agencies to allow them to properly police those doctors who are simply overprescribing.
And I know this is not a good thing to say, but if you don't believe our problem is real and live and well, look at the doctors that have been affected by this. Look at our doctors that have been shut down. Look at our doctors that's in rehab and treatment themselves. Look at the facilities like over in Williamson, West Virginia, that was closed by the drug lords and FBI and all the stuff that came in there to close those down. I mean, this is a real prevalent problem. It's out of control. It is an epidemic, and what we try to do is do the best we can to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse, and to bring a check and balance system that identifies how, where, and when are those people writing those prescriptions. Who are the people going to Buchanan County, Virginia, Mingo County, West Virginia, and Pike County, Kentucky, and doing the triangle shopping, or who's catching a plane in Charleston, West Virginia with 2 empty suitcases and flying that cheap flight to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and coming back with 2 full suitcases. And it's alive and well. That problem is an epidemic in Pike County, and we're very cognizant of it.
And if we look at this problem, single problem, and look at the root of it, it affects everything we're trying to fix right now, whether it be providing medical care, whether it be providing education. We could fix a whole lot of things right now. Correct. If we weren't dealing with the drug epidemic. And that just doesn't speak to us. I think it speaks to all over the state and all over the country. And it is at the core of so many things right now.
I want to say this too. Leslie is the chair lady of Tourism and Energy. And we had a hearing this session with our natural resources people that test our coal miners. And we have like a 10-fold increase of miners that's been suspended, lost their license, lost their mining privileges, because we have an epidemic problem being able to get employable, drug-free coal miners. And it's unbelievable. We went like from 40 cases to 420 cases in the previous year. And so if you're not aware of this problem, you're putting your head in the sand. But we have been very proactive. We've been very combative. We've been very cognizant, and we've tried to address these problems. We just had stiffer regulations. If a miner now reports he's got a drug problem, we put him in treatment. You don't report, we're going to find it out. We're going to do drug testing, and you're going to have some serious problems. We got to keep a drug-free workplace so that Pike County is a employable, vibrant community where, hey, you bring your businesses to us, bring economic development opportunities, and create jobs for our people back home. And that's been our primary focus: job creation.
That's right.
And I know we've touched on a lot of different things, which is, what we were here to do today. But I just want to make sure that I take time now, and I'm going to go to each one of you. And, there may be something we've not touched on, or something that we have touched on that you want to elaborate more on, maybe something you were particularly involved in throughout the session. So, Representative Hall, I'm going to start with you.
I want the people to know in Pike County that where there is no vision, the people perish. I can proudly sit with this gentleman and this lady and say we have moved the county forward. We have tried to be team players. I'm very proud of the fact we're creating 3 new schools in Pike County. We're building a new courthouse. We're trying to bring 60 beds for a treatment center to the jail, working with Jailer Rodney Scott. We are protecting our Friskies. We are helping our senior citizens. We're buying 4 or 5 new vans to help the Meals on Wheels for our seniors. We're buying new fire trucks. We're finishing fire buildings that will help people's insurance get lower. I mean, I'm very proud of the fact of what we've done to move the county forward with water and sewer. Let me talk about Phelps. When you come to Phelps, we're building a new $15 million school over there. We're building a new gymnasium for Kemperidge children. We're putting $1.5 million into the sewer plant in Phelps, because when you come to Peter Creek, what do you see or what do you smell? You smell sewer. And so those type of infrastructures, we're putting $1.8 million in sewer systems going to Majestic, which are straight pipes going into Sycamore Creek now, because there's no way to do that. But I'm very proud of this team we've got. We work very well together. Me and Ray and Leslie were harmonious. We did never disagree. We made sure that the 3 of us agreed on everything in this budget. We didn't put nothing in there that we disagreed on. We tried to obey the law and stay within the law's boundaries of what Ray read you in statute KRS 245. And but we are, we do get the green slips. We do get the emails. We do know and we do answer those. And we take very serious this job, and we're very cognizant when we get criticism or second guessing. And Shannon, we appreciate you coming today, because we want the people to know what we do and how we make these decisions. I couldn't be prouder to sit with Senator Ray Jones and Chairlady Leslie Combs and say we are a team in Pike County that has tried to work with the mayors of Coal Run and Elkhorn City and Pikeville and the judge executive, as well as the magistrates. We've tried to move the county forward. We are the envy. We are the envy of East Kentucky. We've done a lot of great things and accomplished a lot of things that people look at us and, man, how do you all do what you do? And how do you come together? Well, I'm going to say one thing. There's no I in team. There's no I in team. We're a team. And we just want to be part of the team in Pike County. Whether it's the city of Elkhorn City and Mike Taylor, my good friend, or whether it's Laverne Dye and Coal Run, or Mayor Justice in Pikeville, or Judge Wayne Rutherford. We try to be a team player. And we take this job very serious. We stay away from our families for 4 months a year being here. We come back 8 days a month for interim meetings in Frankfort, Kentucky. And I know I'm from Phelps, 200 miles away, and I'm glad to be here. I'm honored that we're the servants of the people, that we're unopposed in our next election, and that we're going to continue taking care of the children, taking care of the seniors, taking care of our firefighters, taking care of our veterans, and taking care of those people back home that need us. I'm very proud of that track record.
Senator Jones?
Well, first of all, I want to say it's been a privilege and honor that I can't describe to have had the opportunity to represent the people of Pike County for the last 12 years. It's an awesome responsibility, Shannon, and it's even more so now that I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, because when I was first elected, it was just me, and now when I see more clearly how the decisions that I make here in Frankfort affect particularly our future generations, it just shows how important what we do here is. I believe that the people of Pike County trust us to do the job that we were sent here to do. I mean, by the end of this next term, I will have been honored and privileged to be here for 16 years. And I believe the people trust us and trust our judgment. It's unfortunate that sometimes we're second-guessed in the manner that we were. No one called us about, the things that were said during the fiscal court meeting. I don't even think that the budget had been delivered to the Senate yet when that happened. But if you look at our track record, and I'm going to say this, look at our track record. Since Keith and I have been there, and now since Leslie's been there, new schools are going in at Virgie, Shelby Creek, Phelps, Mullins Elementary. We got the new school they're looking at, Millard. And every one of those schools were made possible by work that we've done here collectively because we funded 2 of the schools, Mullins and Phelps, and that freed up bonding capacity to do the other schools. We have built fire departments. There's money in here, a massive amount of money for our fire departments in Pike County, our rescue squads. There's a significant amount of money in here for our schools. Judy's Place that was named in honor of former First Lady Judy Patton that provides treatment services to sexually abused children. We have taken care of so many different agencies. Let me tell you something. When Keith and I started using coal severance tax money, this is even before Leslie got here, to help subsidize the senior citizen centers, the workers in the senior citizen centers hadn't had a raise. Was it 3 years, I believe, Keith?
Yeah.
They had not had. So we have helped, and we've increased the funding. We've built new senior citizen centers. We've built new fire departments. We've provided new fire equipment. And I believe that the people trust us, or they wouldn't have sent us here. If people out here, when they see this program and they see the projects scrolling across the bottom of the screen, I'm sure people are going to have questions about some of them. I'm sure that there's going to be projects that they may not agree with.
Correct.
But we have done the best we can with the money we have to spread it around equitably among all of Pike County, not just the city of Pikeville. And like I said, 24% over 2 years going to the city of Pikeville, 76% going to Pike County. And I'm not going to play this game of city versus county. I think we're beyond that because, let me say this, Shannon. If someone comes to Pike County and they're staying at one of our local motels and they're looking to develop a business there, or they're looking to expand a business, or if an official comes in from EQT or Kellogg's or Alpha Natural Resources or some other large employer in our region, and they sit there and they're watching controversy on Pike TV or they're reading controversy in the newspaper, that has a negative effect not only on the politicians, but it has a negative impact on the county. And we want what we do here to reflect positively on not just Pike County, but the entire region. And we're proud of what we've done with this budget.
Thank you. And before we wrap up, I don't want to leave without letting you speak a piece or two about how you feel right now, or anything we've not mentioned.
Well, just a few final comments. I, too, am very proud and feel very honored and privileged to serve the people of the 94th District in Pike, Letcher, and Harlan counties. And I truly want to say how much I appreciate them giving me the opportunity to do that, because we truly work for the people. And in addition to that, kind of what Senator Jones just said, I'm very excited about the things going on in Pike County and all over Eastern Kentucky right now. We've got so many great things going on and so many projects happening. There are truly people, I think, other parts of the Commonwealth that you mentioned the word jealousy earlier. They're jealous of what we do in Eastern Kentucky and what we have available to us. And so I think we've got a lot of great things happening. And I think it's now time to bond together, everybody come together, because I'll tell you what, we can make good things happen. And you do that as a team and everyone working together. And I think, too, we talked about that once the session is over with, we come back together and we give everyone a legislative update when the session is completed.
That's what I was hoping to see, is nods from the three of you that we might be able to do this again.
And I'm on a personal note here, and I know Senator Jones has this issue. I don't know about Representative Hall, but I'm looking forward to completing the session and good things happening, because as you can tell, it seems like that we have a 4-month allergy and cold throughout the entire session. And I've about had all that I want right now, so I'm ready to finish that up.
Well, I just want to thank you guys, Senator Ray Jones and Representatives W. Keith Hall and Leslie Combs, for taking the time out to sit with us today and talk to us about things that are important to not just the Commonwealth, but the citizens of Pike County, most importantly for you guys, your constituents. So I want to thank you. But hopefully, here comes the nods I'm hoping for, that we can do this again after the close of the session.
And I think the people, they really would appreciate it, and they'd like to know, and we should tell them.
All right. Well, once again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to
Shannon,
talk to us.
Let me say this. 1-888-887-0088. It's a toll-free number to the legislature, lrc.ky.gov. You can contact us through the website.
That gets the people the
green slips, the emails, the calls.
Okay.
Yeah, we get those every day.
Okay.
And we welcome
get them,
those.
and that's right.
Absolutely.
Because we got to know.
We need to know.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you.
Well, I'm Shannon Deskins from East Kentucky Broadcasting for Pike TV, thanking you for tuning us in.